A Journey Beyond Sanity. Chapter 6, Part 2. 18, 19, 20. That was all it could take before my body ached and begged me to cease. So I obliged, and allowed my back a moment to rest before I continued this exercise of steadying like a human again. 20 seconds. Not bad. This was the first thing I attempted upon arriving back into the blissfully silent library. I spoke too soon. Back already? I asked in surprise as the purple unicorn hurried into the place, closing the door behind her with a saddened expression. Odd. Did I miss out on something? I raised a brow as Twilight jumped at my voice, apparently not expecting my presence. Oh, Stardust. I thought you were back at the town square, the embarrassed pony asked. Said. I shrugged indifferently. The theatrics bored me, so I left early. There was only so much of the arrogance I could take. What brings you back so early? And my voice paused at the sight of the mare, who obviously had her mind on other things, searching and magically pulling out a big book. Are you all right, Twilight? Huh? Oh, yes. Twilight barely glanced towards my direction, headed to the wooden staircase and said, I'm just going to study something. Sorry to bother you. Bother me? Twilight, I called out firmly as she was on the first step. If there's something on your mind, while I haven't known you as long as Spike has, I'm all ears, I finished, forcing that last part of my words out. Despite getting to know the pair, I still hold great reluctance in connecting with any of these citizens of the town, much less the world. But hey, if it has nothing to do with my personal problems, I'm all ears. Actually, there is something I need to know, the purple unicorn began hesitantly, turning to me over her shoulder. Oh? You don't think I'm a bit of a show-off, do you? Huh? No. Why? I asked with a perplexed frown. Twilight, a show-off? Somehow those words don't mix well together. I just thought that, with how our friends were treating Tixie's talents... Now hold on a minute, I interrupted, her downcast tone not unkindly, causing her to blink at being cut off. I smiled at the unnecessary mood before me. Just because you are very adept at magic, you think your friends will react around you like they did with her? She shrugged helplessly, avoiding my gaze nervously. You've seen how much they've hated Trixie's bragging. The thought of going out and showing off my magic would risk the loss of friendship between me and them, she confessed, as if I was going to prize at least some comfort. I allowed these words to sink in my mind for a moment before laughing in disbelief. Ha 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 ha. And here I thought Rarity was the exaggerate one, I explained in my laughter, wiping away an imaginary tear as the unicorn glared uncertainly at me. After calming down, I continued in a calmer tone. Twilight, you are many things. A show-off is not one of them. You can sometimes act a little smug, but that's no crime. It's natural, considering your experience in serious studying. You're not Celestia's student for nothing, you know. But that's just it, Stardust. What if they already think low of me over the fact that I am Princess Celestia's student? Twilight inquired worriedly, this being a serious situation for her. So serious, she didn't frown at my continuous disrespect toward her monarch. Honestly, I thought she'd be used to it by now. What? If with Trixie around, they might begin to think I'm just like her. Have they ever expressed any indication of loathing towards you, even during that Mare's Prophetic show? I asked instead, while she opened her book to find the right page, skimming through the pages almost at the speed of sound. Well, no, but... Well, there you go, I said confidently, turning my gaze to a row of books that Spike was supposed to put away. I guess I'll have to do the test. If Spike was here, he'd agree with me. Where was the little dragon anyway? Just because one unicorn's being a brat about her skills doesn't mean anyone else will think of another magically adept unicorn. So no, Twilight, you're not a show-off. You're a skilled, powerful, modest pony, and your friends are obviously proud, if not honored, to be so close to you. I stopped myself from adding the final words to that short speech. I know I am. Better not overdo it. You really think so? Twilight asked after a lengthy pause, evidently considering my truthful words carefully. I nodded calmly while picking off one book from the untidy row and placing it back onto the correct shelf. It's simple fact, my dear. Just ask Spike when he gets back. Or go out to see the others and ask for their opinions. Their answers will be the same, if not similar to my own. Thank you, Stardust. I then heard her sincere voice after a moment. I needed that. It was my pleasure, I replied, not bothering to restrain a small smile at the unicorn, who smiled in turn. I'm here if there's anything else you're worried about, provided when Spike's not around to do the job for me, of course. I got her to chuckle. I appreciate that. Then another doubtful frown. But it still doesn't help me with what I should do in case I have to show off in front of everyone. What then? What then? Twilight, you don't have to show off in front to anyone. I cut her off again with a patient, amused smile. That's Rainbow Dash's department. The best thing to do, if you want my advice, and I know you haven't asked for it, but I will respect whatever advice you have to offer me, Stardust. You know that. Her turn to cut me off softly, but I felt appreciation for her honesty and respect. The best thing to do would be to wait it out. Trixie will be leaving this town sooner or later, when she eventually gets bored. You say it as if you know her, Twilight pointed out, and I inwardly winced for allowing some knowledge I had to pretend I didn't know out. Wait, earlier today you had a hunch who the new arrival to Ponyville was. Did you suspect it was Trixie? I had my suspicions, and they were confirmed, yes, I replied calmly, wishing I could just bash myself against the wall for these slip-ups. First my home country, and now this. We've never met personally, but I've heard of her and her so-called skills. I rolled my eyes in emphasis at the last statement, while the purple mare's muzzle twitched at the insult towards another unicorn. Either in mirth or disapproval, though I know her type. Trust me when I say she'll leave this town sooner or later, depending on whether the residents are enough of an entertaining source for her or not. Now, I have no notice in disrupting or preventing the arrival between the two unicorns, but I can't just tell Twilight to ignite a fierce confrontation between the two that will last for a long time. This heated rivalry will begin eventually, I'm sure. My words probably won't mean anything when it comes down to it. So why did I even bother? Alright, I'll put that under consideration. Twilight pulled me out of my thoughts, already walking back to the staircase with the floating, heavy-looking book in tow. Sorry for interrupting your exercise. I wouldn't be a burden to your time any longer. Thanks again for the advice, Stardust, she finished genuinely. You're hardly ever a burden, Twilight, I was stoked to call out as she ascended the stairs. Rainbow Dash, definitely. Pinkie Pie, undoubtedly. The others? Depend. But Twilight? Absurd. As she disappeared from view, I returned to putting away the stack of literature. I felt quite pleased to help someone overcome with their crisis. I always scoffed whenever the tutors in college pointed out I was nicer and friendlier than I realized. But that's due to how wrong they were. Yes, I'm sometimes polite and formal, but only to them. So what if I help out others, break down arguments and set some students in their place? So what if the majority of times I react and do things my brain protests otherwise? So what if I gave Twilight meaningless advice? So what? And just where the hell was Spike? I found myself asking the very same question from earlier while searching for the elusive dragon. After he returned and later departed from the Golden Oaks Library in a sour mood, from what I gathered from the Huffing Unicorn afterwards, Spike tried to convince his mistress to challenge the loud and egotistical Trixie in a show-off of magic tricks, but failed miserably. I don't see the problem here. Twilight was the one acting mature. Then she sheepishly said she magically created a door out of nothingness just to prevent Spike from talking further. Spike! I called out as I trod down the dark street, wishing at least some advanced technology like lampposts existed in this world. And a computer wouldn't be too bad either. Since the reptile has yet to return, I took it upon myself to look for the lizard at this time of night. I'm not sure if curfew was a thing around here, but Spike was still a minor. Dragon or no. Whether he can take care of himself or not, the last thing I needed was an unnerving feeling for allowing a child to stay up later outside. Someone has to act like the responsible one. Twilight was too busy engrossed in her reading. It was rather ironic that I chose to step up to the task. "Where are you, you damn reptile?" I muttered, wishing lampposts were a thing around this godforsaken town. All the citizens were asleep by now, as I can't see anybody else in sight, and most of the complex-looking houses had no lights on. But while there's no one else the eye can see, I suppose there's no harm then in humming a particular song that's been stuck in my head all day. "Stardust!" A loud frightened yell cut me off from my quiet singing. Blinking in shock at the sight of the running dragon. "Spike, what's the matter?" "Arrgh!" The scared lizard didn't halt in his tracks, landing smack dab in my right in my legs, causing me to topple from the sudden impact and land on the ground as the dragon quickly gave me an apologetic look. "Sorry about that, but we've got to get back to Twilight. Quickly!" Spike couldn't finish as Karma turned on him. 3 other ponies tripping over the small lizard and landing luckily around me. Getting up and brushing the dirt off from my blue cape, I glanced at the terrified Nips, Snails, and to my puzzled amusement, Trixie, from their places on the ground, looking straight at the same direction. I blinked, then as Spike suddenly rushed behind me as though I were some sort of shield. "What is with you all? What?" I cut off my exasperated tone as a sudden vibration from the ground, looking at the path in question. An earthquake. Was another stampede on its way? Oh, sugar. I felt my eyes widen, body freeze, as I stared up from the ground, up to the nearby giant, hairy see-through beast with a giant star on its forehead, clenched, sharp, dangerous teeth, and predatory yellow eyes with red, deadly irises, glaring down angrily at the prey before it, a.k.a. us. "What is that?" I asked in shock. Seriously, I've never seen this monstrosity before. A giant, transparent blue bear? I don't recall being told about such a beast in this show. What was it? Where did it come from? And suddenly I was hit with the memory of a display earlier today. I saw a horrified blue mare beside me, boasting about defeating a giant bear monster known as the hell'd you call it again? The Ursa Major! Thank you, Snails. That ridiculous thing. Oh, how I wish my feet would fall out from the icy grip of fear. My whole body was paralyzed. Good God, I didn't anticipate this creature. Every step it took shook the ground, emphasizing it was a beast to be frightened of. What am I going to do? What should I do? How best should this situation be dealt with? Stardust, come on! I felt a hard tug at my limb, recovering me from my stupor, as the creature loomed over ever so slowly, evidently taking its time before it would devour its defenseless prey. We need to get Twilight so she can fix this. Defenseless. Trixie, save us! One of the two children yelled in fear from behind. What do you take me for, a miracle worker? The scared tone of Trixie exclaimed, and I couldn't help, despite the life-threatening situation, but take slight satisfaction over how much of a coward she revealed herself to truly be. Coward. Those words, defenseless and coward, replaying in my mind like a tape recorder. Even then, my posture remained still, as Spike tried pointlessly to drag my still body. There were rarely few times I felt so genuinely terrified, feeling as though the Grim Reaper was right in front of me. The only times I ever experienced such frights was by horror games. Not movies, because none I've seen so far were nightmare-inducing enough. But this must be what it feels like to work the night shift at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, because there was no accurate statement to the amount of terror I felt right now. Not just for me. As an image of a certain dragon tugging me firm behind, running in terror, ready to be eaten by the gigantic bear at any moment, flashed to mind, followed by the screams of terror from the innocent civilians who, upon hearing the noise, opened their windows and closed them afterwards in fright at the mere hungry glance of that monster. And that was all the coaxing I needed. A quick glance at a narrow alleyway to the side. Stardust, come on, please. Trixie. That word, along with the next statement, flew out of my mouth before I even thought clearly about it, as the gigantic monstrosity was finally towering over us, bearing its teeth in preparation. Your magic dust! Use it! Huh? I heard the blue unicorn gasp in shock. How do you know about the great and powerful Trixie's disappearing technique? Cloud dust, now! I ordered loudly, as the bear reared back its extended paw, ready to smash the victims before it. And as soon as the cloud of smoke appeared, distracting the reeling bear away in surprise, I wasted no time in getting to work. If there's one thing I do know well about the boastful, egotistic mare, it's that her disappearing act lasted only a few seconds. Thankfully, it was enough time for me to get the freeze-frightened ponies and lizard into the alleyway, making the first phase of my developing plan work. I held up a hoof to the others, leaning against the wall of the alley and carefully peeking over, making sure the stairs don't illuminate my peeking head. The creature had quickly recovered from the distraction, wildly looking around with its head for any sign of our presence, its nose letting out loud sniffs. Oh, Christ, if it can smell us. Taking a few steps backwards, gesturing quietly for the four to retreat further into the dark, I kept my gaze locked on the exit, feeling myself shiver as the monster walked by without noticing us. But the continuous quaking of the ground informed me it knew we were still nearby, somewhere. My ears strained to make sure I wasn't so close as to hear us, and to my relief I can now tell the others how this will be resolved quickly. What are we going to do, guys? One of the two colts asked from behind, before another shushed him. I can literally feel the wall my hoof was placed on shake at the vibrations of fear they were producing. Stardust, we need to get to Twilight, I heard Spike whispered beside me, pulling again at my cape. Indeed we do, I concurred, before slowly turning to look at the unnerved lizard. Or should I say, you do. What? I ignored the question, instead walked slightly by the puzzled dragon, standing right in front of the terrified mare, who was also looked confused as I held out an open hoof. The magic dust. If you value your own life, give some to me. Of course there was a blunt refusal, starting by a loud scoff. Huh! Why should I, the great and powerful Trixie, hand over such precious work of magic to mere ponies such as yourself. She immediately ceased at the loud, ferocious roar from the searching beast, blinking rapidly while I grimaced. There is no time for this. I don't know about you, my egotistical friend, I hissed slowly, getting my point across without playing around. But I will be damned before I allow some bear from the pits of hell to harm any living thing around here. Your choice, great and powerful Trixie. Would you rather feel nothing but guilt for the rest of your life for allowing others to suffer because of your selfish stubbornness, or really prove you do indeed have a soul? Give me that magic dust, now. All the boastful Boney did at first was staring at me uncomprehensingly, as though no one she considered so beneath her had ever talked in that way to her. Well, there's a thirsting first time for everything, love. But clock's a-tickin'. Finally, the mayor reluctantly pulled out some of that pixie dust from who knows where, slowly dropping the light sand onto my hoof. And I nodded in thanks, quickly stuffing it inside one of the pockets hidden within my blue cape. As we heard the enraged roar from behind me, then telling us the bear was still hunting its specific prey, I felt my features harden as I turned back and thought carefully over what I was doing. Stardust, what are you planning to do? Spike asked beside me. And I gave him a rather exasperated look, honest in my answer. Something very, very stupid, my friend. Oh, I had a plan, all right. A very reckless, endangering myself plan. But it was either me or the town's residents. And I would rather have no guilt on my conscience if I simply stood by and did nothing. All right, listen, you four. When that thing is lured away, come out of the alleyway. Spike, get to Twilight. Do not come back for me. And just bring her to where we'll be. She'll sort this out. Trixie, Snips, Snails. Make sure everyone stays in their homes until the beast has left the town. But what about you? I looked back at the open town, the frown beginning to hurt my own face. If I can attract the beast's full attention and lure it out of town, at least then it will be able to be away from the citizens. It obviously took a while before it clicked in one of the cult's developing minds, staring in shock. You're going to make the Ursa Major chase after you? What? And suddenly Spike was right in front of me. Tiny arms stretched out in a futile effort to block me from carrying out my insane plan. Are you absolutely crazy, Stardust? That thing will tear you to shreds. Perhaps, if I'm not careful enough. Or, if I act too confident. Move, Spike. But the young lizard foolishly shook his head. Nuh-uh. No way am I letting you become irksome, Chow. You don't stand a chance against that beast. Spike, I appreciate the concern. I really do. But this is no time for you to get in my way. Spike blinked and suddenly took a step back at my enraged, snappish tone. And who can blame me? While we were having this useless argument, many lives were endangered by this sniffing creature. I felt my ears perk up at the close growling and symphony of screaming. Roughly brushing past the shock dragon, looked over my shoulder as I walked towards the open area. Just for once. Trust me on this. The rest of you, keep everyone in Ponyville inside. Maybe now they'll listen. Wait! Another protestant voice, belonging to the loud and egotistical Trixie. Why should Trixie do as you say? And who in the name of Celestia are you, anyway? I ignored the fours, recoiling at the mad glare I was giving them. Fine, if I'm gonna make her here tonight, I might as well go out with nothing to lose. Taking a few steps forward, I mustered all the boldness I held within me, projected into my voice, reciting and modifying a certain quote. I am Stardust Balance. I am a human. I am from the planet Earth of the Milky Way galaxy. I am 19 years old, and I am going to make sure your lives and everyone else's in this godforsaken town are all safe and sound. My thanks to Mr. Tennant. I allowed that short speech to be processed in their wide-eyed stares. You got a problem with that? No, Trixie replied uncertainly, recovering first and frowning. I nodded. Good. Now on thee! I finished rather dramatically and turned back, stopping at the corner of the alley where the shadows kept me concealed. That was when then the beast roared for the umpteenth time. It took a deep breath and a large exhale before I revealed myself completely to the still searching, transparent bear. Where it came from, or who possibly brought it here, did not matter now. I would rather risk my own life for others than finding out. I know, these ponies were mere fiction. I shouldn't try any suicidal attempts for their sake. But that's the thing. My heart and mind demand otherwise. In the end, it really doesn't matter how much logic or wisdom I try to instill into myself. Despite all these years doing so, because whether these creatures right now panicking at the sight of the monster were fiction or not, I would still risk my own young existence for them like they were true living beings. Why? Because screw you, my multicolored horse friends, I'm autistic. And how convenient, a barrel of apples standing right around the corner. The second phase of my plan was already underway. The monster had yet to notice me, swinging its head around wildly for its elusive prey. My hoof quickly reached and grabbed one of the red pieces. You'd think with their love of fruit there'd be some banana stands around here. I love bananas. But fortunately, this apple makes a better projectile weapon. Just need to wait for an opening, my arm stretching back to throw the thing as soon as the creature turns, and now! My hoof flew forward, and I called out in a confident voice when the projectile apple met its target, center on the nose. Despite all the hair around my whole body standing on end, when the offended creature leered at its attacker. Was I afraid? Try absolutely terrified. Hey, big, hairy, and ugly, these weak ponies aren't worth sinking your teeth into. Why not take on a real man? I concluded, with a guarded posture, grinning wickedly at the bear who accepted my challenge with a gleeful roar. Good. That creature's taken the bait. But first it has to catch the meal. Come at me, bro! I yelled heatedly as my hooves sprang into action, running in the opposite direction as the ground shook, with the transparent thing giving pursuit, away from the frightened residents and the town itself. Oh, God damn it. I forgot to tell Spike where I was luring the beast to. Even now I somehow botch up my own plans already. But it shouldn't matter. The roars might be enough to give way where we are running towards. And luckily, it's not too far. If you told me long ago that I will spend my last moments of glory distracting a giant bear with a star on its forehead, stalling for time before backup arrives to finish off the angry creature, I'd have probably believed you. And I don't think I've ever run so hard in my life. I felt my limbs shake wildly when arriving at the location, a distance away from the temporarily safe town. My breathing was that of panting, but even then I sighed in relief in my accomplishment in drawing the bear towards the large lake, surrounded by grassy hills. Yet that feeling of success immediately melted into dread at the close roar of rage behind me, and every hair on my body stood on end again, as a shadow darker than the night itself towered over behind me, and instinct caused me to quickly roll to the side as the claw impacted on the dirt I was once on at leap a few feet away. Holy hell, that was close. And if I'm uncareful, then bare necessity my ass will be his recipe. My eyes sharpened in defiance at the growling, bare-teethed bear, leering at its dodging dinner. Nightmare Moon was easier to confront, as there was obviously going to be no casualties in the first 2 episodes of the show. This is different. Alright, as I found myself somehow circling against the transparent beast that did so in turn, all I had to do now was wait it out. Stall this beast, and as a bonus, tire it out before Twilight and her friends arrives to resolve the matter. I'm confident they can take care of the creature before the night is over. For once in my entire life, I had full confidence about something. Now, what knowledge do I have about bears that can aid me in my planned attack? Well, nothing in terms of the magical giant category. And the only thing I know about the normal ones is that one swipe from them is an instant kill. So one direct hit and it's game over. Wonderful. Never mind the fact I'm going to meet my demise on this damn seemingly harmless world without my friends or family ever knowing about it. Well, as I slowly took out the black dust from the cape's inside pocket before throwing said cape off me and leaving it to drift in the wind, if I'm going down on my own terms. I'm going to make this transparent monstrosity work for it. Hardcore, glorified style. As the bear leaned its head back, ready to chomp down and devour the pony before it, I let out a small smirk. That's it. Come to Papa. My smirk morphed into a grin as I quickly jumped back from the open mouth that instead impacted into the dirt, wasting no time in throwing the dust dead center into the monster's eyes. The beast reeled its body back in shock as smoke covered its vision, roaring loudly in shock and rage. Now was my chance. As the monster lifted two of its claws to wipe away the stuff on its eyes, I ran underneath the large body, heading straight to the back of the transparent creature and halting with a 180 spin. Now, here's a trick I hope also works on bears. I should with anything that has knees, preparing my body, crouched as I took aim at the back of the left knee of the beast, and leaped. I wasted no time after jumping back and catching a quick breath as the beast found itself having to use 3 knees now. Roaring again, through pain this time, I jumped at the next limb, punching the target by placing as much strength as I can into my fist and hoof. Jump back and stay breath before running around to deliver the next blow to the thing's knees. And then the final finale. To top off my over-the-top impossible accomplishment, I concluded displaying how awesome I was by then standing right in front of the beast, not looking as I felt the ground beneath me shake as all 4 limbs of the monster were temporarily disabled. The collapse of the beast causing me to then look over my shoulder after the quake was done with. There. I've done that stunt you only see in movies. Now I can die complete. Too glorified? Who'll call me out for that? But I still felt myself shudder visibly at the creature staring at me a few feet away from the ground with such hatred in those yellow eyes, growling in contempt of being taken down so easily. Too bad, my friend. This was a world where logic dictates that all threats will be defeated eventually. Woo! That was awesome! You rock, Stardust! My head instantly snapped in my surprise by the sudden voices to find the 2 cheering reckless Snips and Snails alongside the astonished Trixie, standing on top of a nearby hill, watching the battle at a dangerous proximity. And instead of feeling gratified for the sport, there was a righteous indignation. What are you clowns doing here? I told you to. The great and powerful Trixie never takes orders from anybody, not even from some apparent alien. Figures. I glared at them in disdain before the blue unicorn called out again, this time in horror. Look out, you fool! What? The sudden triumphant roar warned me that the creature, in my momentary discretion, has regained use of its limbs, and I hesitantly looked back at the towering monster staring at me with disdain. But before I could even think of the next part of my plan, which was for now only improvising, my eyes widened as the beast reeled back, a claw before a shocking speed it headed down towards me. By instinct, my front hooves raised up in defense. That was when my turn. Then my fear turned to shock and confusion. The next thing I know, my back hooves were dragging on the dirt backwards, halting just at the edge of the clear blue lake, reflecting the beautiful night sky, as my front 2 limbs were somehow holding back the assaulting paw by the center. My teeth grit in frustration as the sudden realization of this unexpected defense hit me. What the hell is happening? My spine was screaming in protest at how long I was using only the 2 limbs to stand. Even more so as the enraged beast roared again and pushed harder, trying its best to land the claws above my head into its target. I felt shockingly confident by every passing moment. Where had this sudden OPness come from? Stardust! My head then turned to the side, at the familiar voice, and I was greeted with the sight of the main six and Spike, standing on a hill as the others, observing the spectacle. That brought some momentary relief that they managed to find us. It was too far now for me to get a good read of their expressions, but just seeing them brought something within me, something that made my pushing back hooves gain the edge, and I was impossibly moving forward while pushing the beast back, and I heard the growl of bewilderment from above me, evidently disbelieving his prey was actually holding him back like this. I can't comprehend this myself, my giant, angered, furry friend. One step after another, I was somehow winning. I would like to take this moment, then, if I still lose, to write a mental will, starting with my brother being given my PS3. "You go, Stardust!" Spike shouted and all, while I imagined the others were in shocked silence over what they were witnessing. "Show that Ursa Major who is boss," the cheering voice of Rainbow Jack explained. "They're still going with that name." But even hearing the Blue Pegasus sporting me brought me a small grin to my face as they pushed back further, my own voice singing on its own accord. Again, as the faded music made a return to continue making this so over the top, Michael Bay would be proud. The pain against my spine only seemed to increase, as it must have been minutes since I have been in this locked struggle against the bear, holding it back with all my might, just what was stopping in Twilight and the rest from seizing their chance while I've got the creature distracted. All right, time to end this painful battle. The creature seemed to agree, roaring in hate as he tried to push with all the might he had. Well, vice versa, you beast. Sucking in a deep breath, I let out an animalistic roar of my own, more vocally powerful than the one I produced against the arrogant griffin. And a supporting chorus from the far side, and image of the ponies cheering me on, raised a sudden boost in my unexplained strength. Finally winning this fight as I quickly let go of the paw with one hoof, clenching it into a fist, and with a final roar punched the center with as much power available, causing the beast to finally recoil and be dragged backwards across the dirt in surprise, struggling to regain its composure. My shaking front hooves landed on the ground in tiredness, my right one especially, and I felt myself panting to recover my strength. Just where did that stunned strength come from? And how was it enough to stop a giant creature of death? A giant creature of death was stopping me at the last minute. But I can't contemplate any of that right now, as the beast is sure to strike again at any minute, judging by the dangerous growling. "Stardust, stop attacking him!" "Point, Twilight." Hearing the cry, I immediately looked to my right and at the hill and yelled out, little air my lugs I had. "Twilight, all of you, now! Finish off this beast!" As I saw the purple unicorn pause for a moment before nodding fiercely, preparing to join the field, another boastful voice interjected, "I think not!" And the next thing I knew, the blue mare had created another cloud of pink smoke on the grassy area where they all were, quickly running towards me and standing defiantly a few feet away against the recovered and enraged beast, declaring melodramatically, "Stand aside, equines, and observe as I, the great and powerful Trixie, shall vanquish the Ursa Major, back to the depths of from whence it came, once and for all." "You go, Trixie!" Snails called out enthusiastically. "Make that Ursa Major wish he was never born." I didn't have the energy to roll my eyes, instead yelling at the stubborn, idiotic unicorn furiously. "Are you serious? You're not powerful to take down that—" "And if an earth pony can take it down, then so can Trixie!" Trixie exclaimed, angered at being called weak. Staring up at the beast, raising upwards a bloody wand, the damn bear wasn't that weakened, as said bear has now recovered and baring its teeth, lunging towards its standing open prey. "Now watch and behold, my friends, as the great and powerful Trixie vanquishes this irksome before your very And the great and powerful Trixie would have been finished if I hadn't quickly leaped towards her and pushed her out of the way, myself instead taking the blunt of the force of this beating, impacting paw, and sweet darkness enveloping over me. End of part 2.